So I want to watch this video by the aristocratic Utensil. I can already assume what he means by this. Now, personally, I don't agree. But it doesn't mean that he's completely wrong, you know? I think many women shouldn't be in politics. However, I believe that on that same standard that I'm using for many women, there are many men who shouldn't be in politics. Like people who are like too emotional, too mentally unstable, like shit like that. They shouldn't be in politics. It's just that usually those tend to be the women, right? Like the crying on the fence for like the illegal aliens in cages, kids in cages bullshit with that AOC did. No man politician would do that, right? And also there was no purpose to it. It was a complete fucking lie. All that shit, right? It's like it was just complete nonsense. And I feel like maybe that is what he's gonna touch on, like why women shouldn't be, because like they're trying to appeal to emotion instead of like logic. I think my opinion, politics should be more about like, logical shit, not like fucking just your emotions. The problem is people vote with their emotions, which is, in my opinion, very bad. Okay, you should vote with your brain, not with your heart. But like, yeah, let's see what he says.
You know, lately I've been accused by some of being too harsh on the whammons on social media. Which is funny because in all of my years of doing this, no woman has ever given me hell for my opinions on this issue. Well, at least not the ones whose opinions I actually care for. In fact, many a year ago, I openly said I don't think they should vote. And women in the comments section overwhelmingly agreed with that. So well done to those ladies, they have the wang wisdom. I think it's because they understand that for every smart one of them, there's about 1,000 idiots. And just through mathematics alone, they can foresee an improvement. And perhaps best of all, they have to do absolutely bugger all to achieve that. And they get to watch the idiots cope and see and talk about a win-win. And I've said this many, many times now. If someone makes a generalization...
This whole idea of like women shouldn't vote, it's problematic because like they equate it to like stuff like the army, right? It's like, well, you can't get drafted, so it's like you decide on politics that could send men to their deaths, right? But it's like that's not the only thing, that they're voting on, right? It's like stability of their life in the country, shit like that. Like I feel like a lot of politics impact women the same way as men, but there is a subset of politics that impact men more than women. So it's like I can't say that they shouldn't vote, but like you can't be like, well, women's vote counts for like 0.9% of the vote rather than the one. Like it also doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? I don't know if you can remedy it though.
About a demographic that you belong to, but the generalization isn't used to judge you personally, then I don't see why people get upset, especially when I'm the one doing it. If you look at my social media, I damn near always give context and examples of the stupid thing that is currently spurring my opinion. It's probably why the ladies that get along with me, because they're annoyed by the same damn thing. Hell, half the time I post something about them that annoys me, it was probably a woman that sent it to me in the freaking first place. Glam and Vex come to mind. I'll say to the blokes this as well. Be known as the one that is outspoken about the opposite sex. Because the reality is, women get annoyed by other women, and they can't speak to women about it because, well, it'll cause a stupid argument and it'll go nowhere. So they will go to a guy they believe will understand their irritation with the hopes they will be blunt about it. Women have a tendency of just wanting someone to listen to their problem but not actually solve it. And this is one of the few times where that is understandable because the problem is the nature of their sex. I imagine if you're a woman who watches this channel, you're probably one of those ladies that can only handle your own sex in short bursts. Otherwise, they start annoying you. Trust us, we feel your pain. Oh, and speaking of pain, let me give you all an example.
Oh, no. It's a cultural divide. I'm gonna get it on the...
And divide, somebody's got to fight for it. You are the one dividing it. You are the one dividing it, though. You care about race more than literally the Democrats are the one dividing the country. You have a president and you just try to like fucking protest everything he does, right? Trying to make it so that Democrats are just like hating Republicans. Fuck, man. And progressives that are a big part of the Democratic Party right now are calling Republicans non-human things, okay? Like they're just categorizing them as non-humans, which is very similar to something that happened in World War II, like equating a certain demographic to, to rats or something like that,
Flow. You really about to do it? 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music.
This is not.
Who elected a thug to fucking not even a thug, like a street thug, you know, like not even like a mafia boss, but like a mafia boss in politics I would at least understand, you know, because like even if he's a criminal, at least he has like some like, you know, a standard that he lives by, you know, like a certain like rules that he lives by. So it's like at that, even if he is a criminal, at the very least he has some principles, right? It's like she's acting like a street thug, you know? Like, by the way, she's like from Texas. Like, why are you acting like you're from the Bronx? Like, what the fuck?
Not what we should be doing. I don't even know why we fight with Greenland. Why we fight with Greenland? We fighting with Canada. We fighting with Mexico. Yeah, we in love with Putin. What is happening? Like this.
Why are you talking like that, man? You're a politician. I cannot imagine any other country where a politician talks like this. Like, literally, this is like the worst way a politician can talk. I would rather a politician say fuck every, like, you know, third or fourth word than talk like this. It just looks bad. No one takes you, like, no one can take you seriously when you talk like this. When you talk in, like, slang, hood talk, you know? And before people says like, well, you know, it's just the accent thing, you know, like that's just how, you know, some part of the country talks, and like, you know, like you have like the other ones who talk with their like southern accent, whatever. But even when they talk in the southern accent, they talk in a more respectful manner, right? Not, it doesn't sound like hood, you know. They talk in proper English with their southern what do you call it? With their southern accent. It's just, she's a joke, man. Like, seriously. I honestly, I know nothing about her. I don't know anything about her politics. Just from the way she talks, she's a joke.
This is a terrible nightmare. Somebody slap me and wake me the fuck up, because I'm ready to get on with it.
Yeah, stereotypes exist for a reason, people. They're true. Apparently, this one heard AOC say, I'm the thickest sandwich in all of Congress, and this one went, hold my beer.
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally.
It's amazing the one type of...
It is not a criminal violation to enter the country illegally. See, this is where you need proper English, because I think what she meant to say, it's not like, you know, there's like, you know, like crime, like, you know, like a murder. And then there's like, you know, a slap on the wrist type of crime, which is like what she's thinking about entering illegally. But no, it's still a crime, so...
type of competition where they don't kneecap each other is when the attention-seeking currency is stupidity. The sex shock is stupid. You know what's odd, though? There's a video of her before she sounded like this, where she has mannerisms akin to Candace Owens, funnily enough. However, now that she sounds like ghetto street trash, Bill Maher had to go at her for her code of conduct, or rather lack thereof, actually. And as usual, all the race grifters come scurrying out, rearing their ugly heads. When it's a black conservative, you damn near have a hard-out pass. But when it's a black liberal, oh, you're an oppressive arsehole applying that white standard. Which goes to show you, they don't give a damn about race. It's just politics. The race card only gets pulled out when it's convenient, and that's about it.
Obviously.
You know what's funny, though? A lot of people, because of the above, said the ghetto version is fake. And I thought, well, hang on a moment there. What if, though, her constituents actually sound like that? Because if that's the case, it may not be authentically her, but she would be, by democracy as theorized, an authentic politician. Now, hold on, though, it's gonna get even worse.
Yeah, oh my god, I saw this. I reacted to this in the, I think it's the Democrats are actually retarded video. Yeah, man, what the fuck? What were they thinking, bro? Like, maybe AOC I can see doing this because like, she is the one that is targeting young people, but like the other old ladies, like, bro, they had nothing to do there. Like, she has nothing to do with this. Clearly nothing to do with this. Also doesn't know how to stand in any, like, maybe she's standing like the gorilla in Smash Bros, whatever the name is. And again, also doesn't know how to stand, and then again, like, you will tire yourself out doing this, like, fucking and break your knee probably while doing it. Yeah.
Women are kind of stupid, really.
Based spoon, dude, honestly, 99% of the time he is very, very based. Yeah, some stuff he goes a bit too far in my opinion, But you know, sometimes you have to go a bit too far for content. But like for the most part, he's pretty based. Yeah.
Kinda? What do you mean kinda?
I mean, really fucking stupid.
Bloody hell, and I thought the red sniffle season was beyond face-palmingly absurd. Did these wankers just look back at the dancing and go, well, that was totally a win, let's just copy that, or...
I don't know how to respond to this. This is so... I'm so overwhelmed with the cringe.
Yeah, you and me both, Pew. I honestly don't know what to say to this. I really don't. Oh, wait, no, yes, I do.
Ah, women, huh? God, I hate them.
100% accurate. Where's the lie? Where is the lie? Fantastic.
Maybe it's because I'm old school variety, but I'm of the belief that you should traverse the world as if you're an ambassador for your group. Because I live in this world of action-reaction, where what you do has consequences. You're earning
Yeah.
a six-figure salary,
Yeah,
and this is the
that
ball
sounds
you
right.
voluntarily crank out to share with the world. Why? Have you no shame? You're supposed to be a political representative. How does this pathetic slop represent any of your policies? Do you have any idea how this reflects on not only your sex, but also the nation itself? Do you have any objectively good legislation victories you can even
That's
tout?
the thing where like, yeah, when she talks like this, forget like what people in your country think about you. Like on the world stage, when you talk like this, like when you talk like how she does, like a complete fucking you know, thug, right? It's like you're not, first of all, you're not gonna advance to a higher position because of how you talk, right? The world doesn't like, no one will want to interact with you. I can't imagine her going up to like Xi Jinping and talking like this, right? And if she does, bro, like he's gonna just turn away and leave. Like what the fuck? Like talk talk like at a, you know, at least a grade 12 English understanding, right? You're talking like a, you know, like a third grader with like the thug talk. It's so fucking stupid, man.
Do you even do anything, you know, when you aren't acting like a narcissistic f***? Because one could argue if you have the time to do this kind of cringy bullshit, you are nothing more than a burden on the taxpayer and a disgrace to the very concept of statecraft. No one featured in this abomination should ever have a say in politics. Hell, same goes for anyone who approves of this or finds it appropriate. I cannot believe this is where we're at in 2025. We have more access to information than any period in human history. And what do people do with it? Oh yeah, produce cringe
They're
posts enough to merit a
stupid.
damn criminal offense.
Yeah,
It actually
we're
makes me
dumber.
embarrassed that this is the current state of Western civilization. We have smart electronics, yet the stupidest people. I pray they did this by themselves and they weren't advised to do so by some kind of committee because holy shit.
Technically, one thing caused the other. Let's be real. That's usually how it is. Like, why would I study when I can just Google it? I mean, you know.
That would be depressing. What if the committee got paid? That's somehow even worse. Whenever I see this kind of stuff, I always wonder what our ancestors would think of us. If you took, say, Joseph de Maistre or Jean Domar or Robert Filmer, defenders of royal absolutism or divine right of kings, or hell, even John Locke. Although with him you can say, this is how your social contract theory works, and in practice you pillock, well done. I mean, they're all Christian and believe it's a vital component to competent statecraft. Well, at least the former bunch anyway.
To that question, honestly, the way our ancestor would look at us, honestly, probably. So it would be mixed, right? In one sense, it would be like we're really smart because like we know a bunch of random shit that they wouldn't know. But on the other one, they would be like, you have all this information, you don't use it because like you're a fucking lazy piece of shit, right? It's like if you had the mentality, like when people complain about like, I mean, let's not even talk about like what is a woman, what is a man, conversation. Let's just talk about like, you know, basic shit, right? Of like. I mean, I was about to go back into like what's a woman, right? But like, I don't know, man. It's so weird that like people are complaining about like the dumbest shit, where it's like back then, you know, age of monarchs and stuff. Like people were like fucking like dying on the streets. You have like the plague coming back and forth, going back and forth, right? And now when like all of these problems have been solved. And humanity doesn't feel the pressure of like, you know, wiping itself off from existence due to like dumbassery of humanity. We're just fucking idiots, like fucking little, like fucking stupid monkeys. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't think they would be very proud of us. You know, it's like you have all this knowledge and you live in a fucking hut. Why? It's like you're smarter than all the kings we ever had. And you can't even do basic math. You know, like shit like that.
The diversity and failed melting pot disaster would no doubt get some comments, not to mention the sheer ugliness of our architecture might depress them into a state of debilitating despair. I honestly believe if you try to explain to them the concept of political correctness and universal suffrage after they've seen the results like this firsthand, I imagine they would think their descendants are all either possessed or mentally disabled. I'm not exaggerating. I sincerely believe they would all think we're insane. Like, how do you think I became a monarchist? It's because of wank like this. Action, reaction. Before I used to think, well, maybe they
Did he just say that he's a monarchist? Now, technically, I don't think monarchist is necessarily evil. The only problem with monarchy is when is the next generation of the king. So it's like you have like, you know, how did monarchs came? You won a huge battle, whatever. You were the, you know, the lord of your city or whatever, and then you won a huge battle, and eventually like you advanced, you became the king. But the people supported you, right? They fought for you, the people liked you, you became the king, you were a good king. Then you had a son. You think your son's not going to be spoiled, but even if he was spoiled, he still might be a good king. But then his son will be even more spoiled than the first one. That one will be more and more spoiled. And eventually you get Joffrey from Game of Thrones, right? Just a spoiled little shit who thinks the world belongs to him. Why? Because he was born in that environment. Which is kind of technically what you can say about the modern society, where it's like you're born into like so much privilege that humans never had before, and everyone's... Okay, yeah, he is a monarchist. Yeah, but you're born into like so much privilege. Practically no matter where you are in the world, you have way more privilege than many humans had throughout history, right? So you become a bit lazier, you know, a bit more entitled to bullshit, which is like probably not how you should be behaving. But yeah,
They shouldn't vote. The results kind of speak for themselves, really. Now I think, this sounds like cringe progressive reform. No. They shouldn't be involved in politics, period. Politics is for men and men only. Any domain that is built on and culminates in the use of force should be exclusively accessible to males and males only. Politics is the province of men, an opinion born primarily through observation. Basic pattern
see, the problem is this is like the problem I have with this proposition is that I believe some politics women would be better at. Stuff that have to do with, you know, what women are good at, taking care of people, you know, shit like that. You still need to have that push of like, because what men believe, men for the most part will believe that it's like, you know, you gotta go through the fire to like become stronger, yada yada yada, right? And it's like, we don't need to help the weak. They like it's a good thing that they're like in this predicament, because then they can grow from it and like become stronger, right? This is like, you know, basic men belief, right? But sometimes you need the compassion that women bring, right? And I think there is a place for it in politics. I don't think they need to be completely removed from politics, but I think there needs to be a subset that is more for women and their specialty as humans, whereas like men are good at more logical shit, at dealing with other men, you know. And let alone like, this is like the whole thing of like people like, oh, we want to have the first woman presidents. Like, you actually don't want to have the first woman president. Why? Because the rest of the world is not really ready or willing to accept a woman president. No one's gonna take her seriously in meetings. Xi Jinping is gonna step all over her. Putin's not gonna take her seriously. Like, nobody's gonna show her any respect, realistically, right? It's like, how you gonna go to like fucking Al Qaeda, like fucking to the Taliban as a woman and tell them your demands, bro? They're gonna like laugh at your face. Like, they don't give a fuck, right? Because like, you're a woman, you're beneath them, right? That's the belief. So it's like, you don't really want a woman as a president, for example, right? But as I said, yeah, I think there is room for politics for women, but maybe it's not, you know, all politics. Just saying.
Recognition. It's not a cultural phenomenon, it's a biological one. And this isn't some radical opinion, mind you. Hell, this is most of human history prior to guzzling the progressive swill of the 20th century. I didn't get to this point by drowning myself in an echo chamber with the works of patriarchal men. Hell, it's mostly from other women. The anti-suffragettes, Florence Nightingale, and of course the great Lady Vicky, Queen Victoria. In fact, let me read this piece here. Florence Nightingale once famously stated,
Nightingale, women have no sympathy, and my experience of women is almost as large as yours. Okay.
women have no sympathy, and my experience of women is almost as large as yours. This quote, on the surface, seems to suggest a lack of empathy within the female gender. Nightingale, a pioneer in the field of nursing, had a vast exposure to women during her career. However, it is essential to understand the context and explore the deeper meaning behind the statement. When Nightingale refers to sympathy, she may not be implying, which is called for, I'm inserting my modernized Ovarian political perspective here, a complete absence of empathy, but rather highlighting a potential societal limitation that women faced during her time. In the 19th century, women were often constrained to specific roles and domestic duties, leaving them with limited opportunities to exhibit empathy on a larger scale. Okay, let's unpack this here. First off, this does not exclusively pertain to the 19th century. This is most of human history, for heaven's sakes. Secondly, empathy and sympathy are emotional tools. They're not supposed to scale. They're for the proximate and the immediate. The further you get away from what is intimately familiar, the distance increases the chances of empathy and sympathy being weaponized and used to manipulate you. How you can see being weaponized in politics today, it's been a disaster. But I'll wrap it up with
I want to hear that again.
pertain to the 19th century. This is most emotional tools. They're not supposed to scale. They're for the proximate and the immediate. The further you get away from what is intimately familiar, the distance increases the chances of empathy and sympathy being weaponized and used to manipulate you.
Out of mind, out of sight. Okay, I guess that's what it means. It's like, oh, don't you care about the kids in Africa? It's like, no, bro, I don't live in Africa. I don't give a shit, kind of thing, you know?
How you can see being weaponized in politics today, it's been a disaster. But I'll wrap it up with this. Women leaning left, men leaning right. This is a problem. You see, the reason we have elections is because they're a cheaper proxy than war. In elections, the bigger side wins, which would probably be the case with war too. But in elections, no one dies. And
It is
you
kind
only
of
have
funny how true this is. And all the men who are leaning left are like emotionally unstable. You know, they're emotionally unstable. They're like, a lot of them don't act like men. It's like, if you look at the whole Democratic Party, there's like not a single manly man that looks there. And like, I think somebody said on like the Andrew Schultz podcast, I think it was a guest, and he's like, bro, there's like no man in the Democratic Party. Like, there's no one there who is like, you know, this is man, like, you know, like masculinity. There's no masculinity in it, right? Where it's like someone to lead men into the Democratic Party, right? There's like no one like that. It is literally run by women, right? There's absolutely like no men at all in the Democratic Party. And by the way, in my opinion, Obama, I wouldn't say he was like a manly man, but he was such a good speaker that he could actually bring men into the Democratic Party. I would say he portrayed the elegant, charismatic man that a lot of men also like aspire to be, not just like the burly fucking like masculine, like slap you if you like talk shit, right? He was the eloquent one, right? The one that is like everyone would look up to like, you know, to make a speech, you know, the one person who's like, you're sitting at a table and you're like, yo, I can't wait for this guy to like make a speech. His speeches are always fucking great, right? Like, they just looked up to him as like a respectful figure, which is also something like a lot of men want to have. So, and again, don't get me wrong, plenty of problems with Obama. I'm just saying that's like, as a speaker, as like a leader, when he was visible, he portrayed those things. So, but after Obama, I don't think they had any singular man that you can call like a leader of men. There's like legit nothing in the Democratic Party that signals to men that you should vote Democrat, right? Like, absolutely no one. It's all a bunch of women and like men who act like women, like emotionally unstable, yelling all the time, crying about bullshit. It's like, bro, man up, you know? Like, fuck.
spend money on weapons, etc. So it's a good proxy. However, it doesn't work when one side is significantly weaker than the other, such as when women are on one side and men on the other. In this case, even if the women outnumber the men and would win an election, the women would not win a war, and so the proxy is no longer an adequate proxy. And if we were to switch from election to war, it would be one side that is mostly women against another side that is mostly men. Men would easily win with very small casualties. So why would men consent to be ruled by elections when they could more easily win a war? This is why women should never be allowed to vote. It nullifies...
I don't think this is the best example, to be honest. I see his point, and again, yeah, like, women can, like, you know, let's say like this hypothesis happens, like, where women win the majority and it goes by their rules, whatever. And honestly, yeah, if the men don't agree and they go to war, yeah, the men would win. But then it's not diplomatic, right? It's like you win by force, and technically force does rule the world, but you don't need to use force on every single situation. Why? Because force begets more force, and eventually it's like, it doesn't balance out very well, right? So that's why we have diplomacy in politics. Where was it? So, and also, like, consent to be ruled by elections. Let me hear it again. There was something
win
there I
with
want to
very
say.
small casualties. So why would men consent to be ruled by elections when they could more easily win a war? This is why women should never be allowed to vote.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like, I get his point, but again, like, first of all, it's never like obviously 50-50 or whatever. It's never like men versus women completely. Some men are simps. They're gonna go for the women. It is what it is. But like, I don't think one side is significantly than the other. I think, like I said, like I just think there should be like divisions of politics. There should be like divisions of like where, it's fine to like women. This is your politics. This is what probably like you're gonna be better at, and like leave the other stuff to men, right? Because it's like it's equating playing chess to actually having a war kind of thing. Just like there are plenty of, I mean, there are plenty of great chess players who are female. They are not the best though. So in that regard, that I guess that analogy also doesn't really work. Uh, but then again, like men are just better at everything. Like not to sound too sexist, but like it's true. Every like fucking record held is by men, like both physical and mental. Like I mean, like maybe there's like some oddities, but for the most part, best doctors, men, best pilots, men, best chess players, men, best tennis players, men, best power lifters, men. Like it's like, like best mathematicians, man. It's like, and there are women who are great and they're better than the average man, of course, like better than like many good men, but like the best of the best, for some reason, is always a man. But you never get the best of the best in politics. You get, the one who smooth talked his way up.
It nullifies elections as proxies for war, and we end up having to have war instead. My observation. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. This is honestly like this discussion will never. I don't think it will ever be solved. Like you need like a massive revolution, and to put a system in place that like, I wouldn't call it. I won't say segregate, but not really segregate, but like divides people based on their characteristic, but it doesn't limit people from moving from one category to the other, because there are very masculine women out there with very masculine traits, right? And there's very feminine men, right? The feminine men, in my opinion, should also not be in the politics of like where men, and the masculine women should probably not be in the category of womanly women, right? Like the very feminist women, right? So it's like, but how do you decide that, right? It's like it's such a weird thing to play with. Maybe like when we get technology where you can scan the brains, like, oh, this woman is very masculine, more than the average man. We can put her in this category, and like, but like, yeah, good luck with that, right? Till then, I think we're kind of fucked. So yeah.